Okay, had a lot of excitement around here today to get this video going. All right, this is episode 4. Really? Okay, beware of emotional vampires. It has stirred up a lot of people, and I just want people to be set free by the truth. Today we're going to look at some characteristics that are so specific about the fools, so that if you're standing there going, is this a fool? And these will go off blink, blink, blink in your mind like, okay, yep, that's who I'm talking to. We're going to work on improving our emotional intelligence. It's going to take us 2 sessions to do that, but we're going to get started today. I'm going to look at the characteristics right now. Clear characteristics of a fool. You won't even have to wonder, could it possibly be? So, and one thing when it says improving your emotional intelligence, a lot of people are really smart, but they're not smart emotionally. I know people who pass school and flunk life all the time. So we're just going to work on some emotional intelligence so that you can protect and guard the treasure of who you are and stay on task, not get sidetracked. That's what this is all about. You are breathing today. Pulse, got a purpose. As long as you got a pulse, you got a purpose. So today, let's just look at some characteristics, and I'm going to take the name Nabal. Old Testament Hebrew name Nabal, which means fool. And I'm going to go through his spelling and spell out some characteristics. I learned this material in the 80s as far as in the scriptures. 1 Samuel 25 got a clear picture what it's like to be married to a fool. And by the end of the chapter, the Lord used Abigail to teach me that it doesn't matter who anyone's married to. You can do what God wants you to do. In fact, I wrote a message called How to Be a Spirit-Controlled Woman Even If You're Married to a Fool. And I shared this with a friend who called about some very foolish things done by her husband. Heartbreaking. It broke my heart. And then God gave me 1 Samuel 25. So for years, that was always the one. And then in the 90s, Jan Silvius wrote the wonderful book, Foolproofing Your Life. And out of that book, I'm like, oh, duh, this is it. And I actually began to teach it everywhere I went. Because everybody's like, oh, I got those in my life. So first, back to Nabal, the acrostic, first letter N. With a fool, they are never, get the word? How do you spell never? N-E-V-E-R. They are never changed by your efforts. See, I have wasted so many brain cells, so much money, so much time, so much talent, so many resources trying to change a fool. I'm trying to transform their heart. Many people who have tried to change fools make phrases, they say things like this. I just can't seem to figure out why this relationship's not working, even when I walk on eggshells. Even when I tiptoe around, I'm still facing these 3-day mad spells from my special person in my life. And it could be just about anybody. Doesn't just have to be your spouse. Anyways, so many of us are afraid to look at the truth. And the saddest thing is when you look at the truth, there's freedom in that. Like I bring this up and everybody's all uncomfortable. Well, let's get uncomfortable unto freedom and victory, not further bondage. Because when we're trying to change a fool, we have entered into bondage. Because what we're doing is we're trespassing. The heart is God's territory. And I'm trying to change our heart. No. All right. So, in fact, there's a wonderful scripture in Psalm 69, 5 and 6. Oh God, you know how foolish I am. My sins cannot be hidden from you. Don't let those who trust in you stumble because of me, O sovereign Lord Almighty. And I don't want others watching my life as I follow Jesus and let me see me making very poor choices in relation to fools, and then they copy me. No. Hopefully that's going to end. It's like trying to talk rational to an irrational person. When somebody told me what they had said, I go, well, why'd you say that? Well, I thought maybe the lights would go on. No. No, you cannot speak rational to an irrational person. Okay, now, another part about the fool, A. It's always about him or her. With fools, it's absolutely narcissism on display, but let's not use that big word. It's just a fool. And let me just give you some aspects of it's always about him or her. Number 1, the fool is always right. No matter what you say to them, they'll go right back to their premise. They don't even hear what you say. The way of a fool seems right to him or her, but a wise man listens to advice. Proverbs 12:15. Listen to this one. The wise in heart accepts commands or instruction, wisdom, but a chattering fool comes to ruin. Fools are like a monologue by a blind person. Another thing about fools, which is very interesting, and keep this in mind, they're very proud of how self-reliant they are. And what's interesting, they perceive people who depend on the Lord as weak. Years ago, working with professional athletes, they always told us that people got upset when ball players would identify with Christianity because they thought, oh no, now they'll be weaklings, so they have to depend on God. And you know what's interesting? The original sin was independence. Eve chose independence over the dependent relationship, which was perfection, and chose independence. And the scariest thing, the fool, listen to this, Proverbs 28:26. He who trusts in himself is a fool, but he who walks in wisdom is kept safe. It's called the bed of torment. And Isaiah 50 verse 10 and 11, Isaiah 50 verse 10, it talks about when you live independently, I can do this, I've got no problem, I've got this covered, Anyways, it says you end up going to sleep on a bed of torment. You don't go to sleep on a bed of final relief after all the things I did. Oh well, something to consider. And one other aspect always about him or her, they're also arrogant, arrogantly complacent. Isn't that interesting? When I said a fool is arrogant, and you go, oh, I know a bunch of those. No, but they're also complacent. They don't even consider the impact of their words and their behavior. They're reckless with people's hearts and life. And it never even enters the screen of their brain that, wow, that probably was cruel, or that was probably hard. Excuse me, Proverbs 14:16. A wise man fears the Lord and shuns evil, but a fool is hot-headed. Oh, let's move along. Another part, remember, never about them. Remember, they're never wrong. A, it's always about them. But B, what's interesting, Nabal, the blame game champion. Fools they are experts at blaming others for what is wrong, never owning any of it themselves. It's never their fault. And it began with Adam and Eve. They never owned their stuff. They're blaming someone else. The woman blamed the Satan, the snake, and the man blamed the woman. Nobody ever said, I made the choice. This is an illustration. Let me give you the verses first. Proverbs 14:9. Fools mock at making amends for sin. Like if you ever approach a fool about maybe saying they were sorry about something, they're like, what? I didn't do anything wrong. It was them. They mock at making amends for sin. Proverbs 14:9. Listen to this one. Proverbs 18:2. Notice they're all Proverbs, lines of wisdom it's called. A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinion. See, they don't want to understand what they did. They want everybody else to accept what they did as the right thing. One illustration, I know I alluded to this before, but think about this. This is what they do. If their wife is upset, it's not his fault. She's just too sensitive. It's that time of the month. They always have that excuse. If a child is upset, they'll say, oh, it's not his fault. The child's just a brat or disrespectful. And it's kind of interesting because Ephesians 6:2 talks about fathers don't provoke their children unto anger. So many foolish fathers provoke their children to anger and then get upset about their anger when they're the provocation. They never look at themselves. They never consider how grievous and careless their words are. Anyways, also, if it's a fellow employee, you know how they feel about fellow employees, fools? They always see them as incompetent. They never consider even taking into consideration their part in the lack of success of the team. It's always their fault. It's never about them. It's always about them. One other thing, fools are under this area of the blame game champion. They're very close-minded. Like even if you come up with the best line, the greatest statement that should be revolutionary, a closed mind, refusing to think. They don't ever believe what they're thinking is flawed. A mocker, a fool, resents correction. When you ever see the word mocker, it's just another word for fool. He will not consult the wise. The problem with fools, there's always, it says how big the fool is, there's always a bigger fool to admire him. The problem is that some people admire these fools, so they just ride on the chariot of their admiration. Another thing about fools, remember the blame game champion, they're also spiritual bullies. They're legalistic, they're judgmental. You hear someone judging really harshly another person, you look and go, that's what Jackie was talking about. Okay, so they're bullies. Psalm 74:22. Rise up, O God, and defend your cause. Remember how fools mock you all day long. You know the worst thing about fools? We think about how they impact us. To me, it's hard for me to hear a fool mock God. That's fighting words for me. But what the Lord has taught me, Jack, remember he calls me Jack, King of the universe. This little kid, you think I'm afraid? It's like a little barking dog with this massive mastiff, 180-pound Italian mastiff, gonna jump at him. It's so many people you hear mocking. It hurts me to hear it. I have to confess. There's a little part of me that wants to do something about it. But the Lord is constantly reminding me, Jackie, don't fall for it. I'm not falling for it. Don't ever. It's like one time somebody was attacking God in their remarks, or putting God down and judging God. I'm like, you need to stop talking right now. I'm allowed to do that part. You need to stop talking. God is not on trial. You're on trial. The fool thinks God's on trial. The fool thinks God owes him. The fools think God made a mistake. Isn't that interesting? I've never heard things like that. One other statement about certain people in our lives is Satan is an intimidator, and fools are his greatest instrument. He silences wisdom sometimes through people's mouths. You just go, I can't believe he said that. Everybody freezes. Wow, I'm running out of time already. Okay. Another thing about fools, and N-A-B, now this A, they're always most foolish under stress. If you have a stressful situation, you better get ready, because that's when the fool rises to the surface. I always say this thing, number one, if they're a significant holiday showcase. On holidays, the fools come out. You think, oh man, it's a great time of year. Not for fools. In fact, family gatherings, it's amazing how many fools have a repeat display of craziness. They wreck holiday gatherings, maybe not in your family. I call them the holiday showcase. It says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. So I used to have this one family member, you could count on him to wreck the holiday, the gathering, bring disturbance. I thought, well, at least they're consistent. I really say, well, at least they're consistent. They never let me down. I always expect it. That's how fool. That's what they are. Until God changes the heart, there's nothing I can do about it. I cannot add fuel to the fire by not trying to talk them out of the things they're saying or talk them out of their behavior. I tried that. What? You want to talk about a fool? Mm-hmm. As a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. A fool's lips bring him strife. A foolish mouth is his undoing. So the first one, the dog returning to vomit, which actually gets quoted again in the New Testament, Proverbs 26:11 and Proverbs 18:6 and 7. Again, notice all the Proverbs. Statements of wisdom. Ooh, zip, Jackie. Okay, and one other thing is they can be charming until stress hits the fan. A charming fool has, seduced some people into thinking how charming they are till stress hits the fan. Then they become what I call, fools become, when they stress, verbally abusive. It's like it's an adult temper tantrum. An adult temper tantrum. Okay, I've said enough today. I want to keep this short. The folly of a fool is deception. But one more statement. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools always suffers. Man, always suffer harm. Like, why do you keep it? One of my counselors kept saying, why do you go back around that group? Why do you not look for the exit? Someone wrote me the other day that they feel that God's dragging them towards the exit, like, get out of here now. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. That was Proverbs 13:20. A hot-tempered man must pay the penalty. If you rescue him, you will have to do it again and again. Proverbs 19:19. Okay, so next time we'll continue on the fool and raising your emotional intelligence. But I just want to mention something to you. So many Christians fall prey to fools because they don't want to be mean. They want to be nice and loving and play fair. You can't play fair with a fool because they don't play fair. Peace at any price. We say, yeah, but we're supposed to have peace at any price. Proverbs 12:14. You're right. But with a fool, there's no peace. The fool never pays the price. We pay the price. We are the punching bags. We're the ones they mow under. We're the part of the swine crew trampling us. We're the one that the vampire sucks the blood out of. We want to be smarter than that. Stay tuned. We'll cover the rest next week. Blessings.